Hello, everybody. I am back. It's been a while. This is our 8th episode. So episode 8 of season 4 of what I always call the Classroom Connection video series. We've been doing 8th grade podcasts and we've been recording there, but I haven't done one of these on screen since I think February. So it's been a while. Hopefully everybody's doing okay. Our lives have changed slightly. So not sure what everybody's doing around the country or around the world, but we are slightly, our schedule and our setup for learning it's been evolving. It's been changing this whole 2020 to 2021 school year. I have 3 8th graders that have been kind enough to join me for today and talk about like that whole process, basically how it's been finally getting back into the classroom, distancing and masking up. We'll talk about pandemic learning probably just a little bit, and then maybe even look ahead to the future, because in less than a month, in fact, in less than 3 weeks, you're all done. So 8th grade is going to be over. This strange trip of 8th grade is going to be over. All right, so let's start it off like this, and then whoever is ready can jump in right away. I want to ask what has felt good about being in this quarter of learning where you were all able to come back into school and had the option, families had the option to show back up into school, and you are in 5 days of learning a week. It's taken a while, but how does that feel to finally be back in the actual classroom? Just any general thoughts? Who's first?
I guess I can go.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea.
So I think it's been really helpful to me because I'm usually stuck in my room, not really talking to anybody face to face. So coming back to school has really helped me get back into my social interaction. So I'm just talking to my friends, making new friends, getting to know new students that are at the school. So it's just been really helpful.
Yeah, it's been nice to see some of so that social piece for learning for middle school is big. It's just as important in some ways as your academics, right? So Andrea, you're saying it's helped you out probably with academics, right? Probably with your schoolwork, but also has it been nice to just see friends?
Definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead, Taya or Shraddha. Any thoughts on being back in the classroom?
Pretty much what Andrea said. I really missed the social aspect of school, and it really helped with even how well I do with schoolwork. It helps to be able to bounce ideas off each other and see faces and talk to people and socialize. And so it was just really fun to get back to that. But it was also an adjustment too.
Yeah. Are any of your classes doing small group work again? Are you doing anything where you get to turn and talk? Any simple things like that? It might look different, but are any of your classes doing that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which classes, what projects have come up where you've been able to do some small group work?
Mr. Weiss's class for his early 2000s and everything.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think we all have some sort of decades project.
Yeah, right. Decades project.
Studies, and it's all small group work.
So that's felt probably a little bit more normal than sitting in your room or sitting at home or wherever you are to try and remote learn, So Shraddha, you're coming back in, and is it getting you more focused than sitting at home? Does that help, just being in a classroom setting?
Yeah, definitely. Even our own health classroom, when I was first online, it was hard because there aren't many people with their cameras on. There's not much interaction, like Taya and Andrea said, and it's just hard to kind of get that teacher to student face-to-face kind of interaction that I would need to focus in class, because of course there are phone distractions, there are other distractions on the Chromebook that in an at-home environment we usually can just do these things without without the worry of anybody catching us, whereas in school it's more of a focus time. And even though it kind of seems mentally straining in a way, I feel that whole aspect of just being with your friends, being with people, and just kind of having that 1 hour with the class just to focus with the teacher and you and just bettering yourself kind of does help me focus way better. And it's a lot more fulfilling too, and it's a lot more whole than being stuck at home.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Are there any things from home that you miss? Did you like some of the leniency of that? Or did you find yourself really procrastinating with schoolwork? Because I do have some students that say, that they were fine being home. In fact, we still have students at home and they're doing the best that they can with remote learning. So obviously everybody learns differently, but was there some part of that? Was there anything from home that you kind of liked? Was it the fact that you could roll out of bed and just turn on the screen and, and you're in school? Or was that just kind of a pain in general?
I don't know about everybody else, but it was more like of the dress code for me. Like I could just wear my pajamas and like get work done and try and get like stuff done, but it really like backfired because you felt comfortable and you were just like dozing off. So
for me, I think I miss. So like I never eat breakfast. I don't like eating in the morning. So I'd always get hungry around like fourth period and I could just run downstairs, get a snack, go back upstairs and like eat in class. And now of course I can't do that. And I usually go like the whole day just like hungry. So I guess that's like one thing I'd miss is just like being able to like grab a snack and eat it without worrying about having my mask off or anything like that or like allergies.
Yeah, it's a little bit more formal being like, I need to go to the bathroom or, everything's scheduled now for snacks or lunches. But yeah, what I find is everything takes a little longer. I've said this before with other recordings and other videos and other podcasts. I find as a teacher, if I just want to say something real quick and get a point across, it's not that fast. It takes a long time. I'm either having to type something out to my students at home or the point it goes over people's heads real quick. Sometimes sarcasm and sense of humor is lost because we're masked, so it's hard to read facial expressions. But just as a teacher standpoint, I noticed that definitely this school year is things take a lot longer. And it's a little frustrating sometimes when you can't get your point across through the screen as well as just right in person. Or maybe I just need to peek over somebody's shoulder and then help out with a specific piece of work, an article review or a video analysis. Or even discussions, what we're doing right now, just having like a conversation. Some of that I find out has been kind of lost and we're trying to build back up, Are you seeing that in your other classes besides health class? Is that we're kind of slow to get back into that social aspect of question and answer and being willing to share? Is it true that some students are a little timid coming back in?
If I could answer, yeah, definitely. I think the thing is that when it's kind of kid to kid, just our friends, it's really easy to interact because in my class we have like these groups of like guys and there are girls and they're like mixed and we're really good with just talking to each other or doing group work. But when it comes to sharing our ideas out or talking with a teacher in front of the whole class, I think lots of people kind of hesitate. But once someone kind of takes that step or a few people take that step to kind of talk about it, then their friend groups will chime in, which then the whole class will chime in. So it's kind of like the first step is what's really hard. If people don't take that first step to kind of be brave and speak out, then no one else will. But like once that one person does, then it kind of gets easier for the whole class to kind of interact with the teachers and stuff.
Yeah, I think for me, like the biggest adjustment, and I'm still working on it, is like responding to a teacher. Like when teachers say, "Do you understand?" Like when I was in my bedroom doing school, I didn't say anything because it's weird to talk to yourself. So now I'm back in that actual school environment and I don't really say anything because I'm not used to it yet. And then I look at my teacher and they're like waiting for a response. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, okay, thank you. And I'm like, okay, right. You can actually talk now and not be crazy. So that's a big adjustment. And then there's also just, it's kind of like a comfort level thing. Like we're at our age, we're more comfortable talking to our peers than to a teacher at times. So we're quick to turn and talk to a friend, but then responding to a teacher is a little more difficult just because of how like comfortable or confident we are. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing too.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Andre, any thoughts on that? On people talk, you kind of already touched on that, I guess, as you started off, that you like having that time to speak with friends too. And I think some of our class has been even having a little bit of downtime where it's okay. You have it's totally within the rules, to talk to some friends, to turn and talk, like to get us off track. I'm just waiting for that again to get into some conversations where we might kind of go off on a tangent, but it's fine because we're all interested, we're engaged and stuff like that. So we have recently been focusing in health class on a couple different things: social health, mental health, and this big skill called self-management, which is basically kind of just taking care of your own wellness. It's looking after yourself in a whole bunch of different ways. It's trying to better yourself, your health, your overall well-being. And I feel like that stuff can be taken into any other aspect of life, like your extracurriculars. If you're into any sport, music, art, obviously your other academics. But have you noticed that we are in need, teenagers might be in need of those life skills? Through 2020 and 2021, have you seen that yourself and others like you, let's say like 8th graders, are just in need of some of the basics of taking care of your mental health and developing, like we already just mentioned, social health? Is that big? Should we keep doing that into next year?
Yeah, definitely. In these past 2 years, there are lots of issues, not only with ourselves, but with society. And there are just lots of people trying to help other minorities, and there are humanitarian crises that are happening around the world. I think that teenagers, like myself too, we're so kind of caught up in trying to help others and, trying to put up information, trying to help others, go to protests, that we kind of forget ourselves at times. And I think that we, as kind of teenagers, kind of lose ourselves in that. We're very into these worldly concerns, and I just feel like society is making us grow up so fast and make us teenagers mature so fast, that we kind of forget our childhood and kind of forget those steps into maturing into young adults and into adults later on. So I feel like schools, like our school in our health class, trying to teach us mental health, social health, physical health, etc. I feel like that's really beneficial to us, because if we don't get that type of teaching, I feel like it'll kind of hurt us later on in the future. So
yeah, good points. Taya or Andrea, anything else that you find yourself enjoying from health class? We've been focusing on you, some goal setting. We've obviously taken other things like videos and stories, but tried to apply it to your life. Is there anything that stands out that you're like, yeah, that's been useful?
I think for me, like, I've been really like working on like all the aspects of myself, like mental health and physical health and emotional health. And I'm really lucky, like I have really supportive parents, and they're like, whatever you need, if you need someone to talk to, and blah, 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 blah. So, but the things we're doing in health class are really helpful because it just like holds you accountable, and it's pretty simple. It's just kind of changing your thought process and being more mindful of things you're doing and what categories they fall under, and things that are helpful and things that are not helpful. And like wind down time, like it's okay to have that 30 minutes to just look at your phone and chill. But then if you're just streaming Netflix for like an hour and a half, and it's like, maybe go read a book. It's still chill, but just a little better for you. So it's just like doing the same self-care things, but in different ways that are a little better for you, that I really appreciate in health class.
Right. Would you appreciate that going into next year? Because next year you're starting high school, right? So Andrea, think about the focus we've had on your essential activities that benefit not just your brain, but other parts of life, your physical health and your social health. Do you think that that's something that you would really appreciate from school? I mean, it's enough to say, hey, watch out for your own well-being, but do you think that should be a part of high school health class and fitness and advisory periods? Would that benefit you next year starting up with high school?
Yes, because as I've been told, like depending on your high school, I'm going to the high school near me, which is a different separate building from like the main high school. So you're just with like people you already know with like your own grades and everything. But like once you get into like the main building, like you're gonna be with other grades, and then you're gonna like meet other people, and it's gonna be harder. So just like interact with people would have been like a little bit much better and everything. And high school and middle school are like trying their best after all this pandemic stuff. So yeah, it would definitely mostly help.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there something that you would tell other health teachers or other adults that you think we should keep focusing on as in terms of as a teacher or like as a parent? What do you want other people to know about being a teenager in 2021? What would be important for us to understand or
Um,
for us to help continue with lessons or just an overall big picture or even anything really specific? So Shraddha and Taya, do you think of anything that adults would benefit from hearing?
I think a big like judgment or stereotype on teenagers is that we're either like rude or like angry or just like really quiet and not responsive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times when I'm asked how I am, I either give the I'm fine response or I don't respond because I don't know. And so like that like crankiness that's on the surface is really like the confusion of like I don't know what's happening like in like my head or with my emotions all the time because they're all over the place. So I'd really just ask for like patience and like understanding from like adults and teachers and like some serious like sympathy. Like just go back to when you were a teenager and think about like all the things you were feeling and all the confusion of you're not quite a kid, you're not quite a teenager, and there's like some pressure, but then your parents also kind of want to do everything. So just like put yourself in our shoes again and try to have some patience because I know for myself, I'm really not mean. I'm really not a like angry person. There's just a lot going on with like my head and like my emotions. And so it's really hard to like express because I barely understand it all. So yeah, just like patience and understanding would be really dope.
Not to mention we're in a pandemic, you know, so
Yeah.
adults are dealing with this, but imagine we have to put ourselves in your shoes and then throw on top of it a global worldwide pandemic issue. You're right. So yeah, that's really, I want to take that to heart too, because I'm definitely guilty of thinking that the quiet classroom is kind of, is a defiant classroom, when in actuality, I think teenagers, eighth graders in particular, are still trying to navigate everything that's been happening in the last school year and just figure out their place and how they're feeling and try and find that life balance. So I'll definitely take that advice for sure. Shraddha, anything that you think of that we should continue doing or that we should know about being a teenager in 2021?
Nothing much, but like you said, in the future, what other adults, parents, and health teachers should know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like what Taya said, she brought up a really good point, saying that we're kind of navigating our life, so our crankiness and our angriness isn't meant to come off as something rude, but rather just us thinking about us, just our our emotions, our feelings, but also that it's a little specific, but when parents or adults trying to compare our days with their days, they're like, back in my day, we did blah, 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 I did blah, 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 and you're not doing blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I feel like, while that is valid because our parents want to set us an example saying, when I was your age, these are the expectations that I had and I did accomplish them. So in your age, if you could try to, push yourself to do it would be nice. And I do understand that. But the thing is that times are changing. From when my parents were in their teens to when I'm in my teens, it's a good 20, 25, 30 years. And from the late 1900s to the early 2000s, times are really changing, and I feel like mindsets are changing. We've had Google, we've had phones, we've had all these new inventions that come up that kids these days have access to, social media, the internet. I feel like all of these things kind of change kids' mindsets as a whole. So kind of comparing the past to the present and then the past to the future, I don't think will help teachers or help parents or help adults really kind of get down to kind of relating with us, because in the end, it's kind of hard for us to grow up, and like I said before, with everything that's going on, it's kind of, we're maturing so fast, and sometimes that's not good for us. So like Taya said, when we show signs of being more quiet or signs of not speaking up or signs of being a little more angry, it's just us maturing, and everybody goes through their maturing phases at different times. Some could be a few years before, some could be a few years from now. So I feel like adults should understand that times are changing and that kids are changing, mindsets are changing, and the world is changing. So with that, slowly adults' mindsets should also change.
Yeah, well said for sure. That reminds me of all the different things we have brought up. We get tough topics in health class. We get social justice, we get racial justice. We bring up things like Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, LGBTQ plus equity, gender issues. That stuff comes across our plate, so to speak, as like health teachers, and that's obviously current events, and we can draw from history. But I like what you said is that this is a new time, so we can compare and contrast. But it's also that you're developing your own life, and it's different. And there's a lot of different stressors that are happening that we have no idea about. We can have our best compassion. We can give grace, leniency, patience. But in the end, adults should remember we're not a 14-year-old living in 2021. So that was really great advice. And we're going to continue. So what we'll try and keep doing, I can speak for all the health teachers I know is we're going to keep trying to evolve and update all of the things that we need to talk about and realize that we can help with in terms of coping strategies and also just great discussions in the classroom. And I know other content areas are doing the same, ELA and social studies and science and every single other artistic content area, meaning like class and course. They're all trying to make sure that they do their best to serve our teens of today. So we're just going to continue. So that said, I want you to leave us with something that you're looking forward to. So let's end on a nice positive note, looking towards the end of this school year, into the summer, into the start of high school. Is there something that you can think of that brings you some really fun butterflies in the tummy type of anticipation that you're looking forward to? It can be minor. It could be something very minor, but what is coming up in your future that you're hopeful for?
Definitely making new friends and getting to know my new teachers.
Right on.
I'm excited for, of course, freshman year, but I'm really excited for the summer. With the whole quarantine and pandemic, I have like a really big new appreciation for like being outdoors and just being like free and safe. So I really want to get outside and just be active and appreciate that aspect of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, same. Summer especially, because last year I was a little too young to be outside alone, according to my parents, and this year it's kind of just the right time to, be outside with my friends, go out like in the neighborhood. We have a few places near us that we could go and just hang out, and I'm just kind of excited to finally kind of let go. And once kids and adults get their vaccines, it's a little more lenient. And I'm just excited also for freshman year. And I know there are lots of clubs that are happening, and I want to actually try out for a few of them. So if I get into them, I'm really excited for that whole new experience of being a freshman in a new building in a new school. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, it feels hopeful. I like that. I like that ending. We're going to end on that positive note. We've been through some tough times in 2020 into 2021, and it's not all behind us. We might have some ups and downs. They continue. But I like being able to look forward to something. I think what I'm looking forward to the most is having a nice classroom full of students again, even if we're distanced and we're still masked up or whatever it is, but just having more people. I realized that I really have missed that listening, like hearing people's thoughts. I've been talking at students a lot, and that's just kind of our reality of talking to the screen quite a bit. I just can't wait to have like a discussion, a back and forth like we're doing now, instead of me just talking and then wondering, hey, are they okay? Is everybody fine on the other, the receiving end? So I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Not that you asked me, but I might as well chime in too. All right, so any last thoughts before we say goodbye? Anything we missed that you wanted to talk about? That was a good discussion. We hit a lot of different things. All right, so thank you so much for all the great work this quarter. Best of luck to all three of you, and obviously everybody else listening too, as we finish out this school year. What I'm going to try and do is see if I can get another group in, maybe for another 1 or 2. It's been difficult. It's hard to get volunteers at this point because a lot of us have been feeling overwhelmed or loaded with a lot of schoolwork. But if I can, I'll try and get another episode before this school year ends. And if not, then we'll see you next school year, everybody. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.